order the planning and zoning meeting of August the 16th. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Walsh?
Here.
Commissioner Doherty?
Here.
Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner Meyer?
Here.
Commissioner Sabota?
Here.
Commissioner Thacker?
Here. At this time, public input. Anyone in the audience who would like to speak about a non-agenda item, please step up to the podium. Not everybody at once. Okay, it doesn't look like there is anybody, so at 7:32, we'll close the public input. Consideration of approval minutes from our meeting on June the 21st. I did note in the third paragraph where Chairman Strack was referred, that would be Thacker. Sean was here in spirit, but that only goes so far.
Did you get that, Dorothy, that one?
Yeah, I don't see where it's at, but I'll find it. Third paragraph.
Second sentence.
Second sentence.
Who was sworn in by Chairman Strack?
Yeah.
I'll find it.
So with that correction, if anybody doesn't have any other corrections, you could just make a motion.
Make a motion for passing the minutes.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Meyer,
Second.
second by Commissioner Miller. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yeah.
Commissioner Sabota?
Abstain.
Commissioner Thacker?
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty?
Abstain.
Commissioner Miller? Yes. Commissioner Meyer?
Yes.
Motion carried as amended.
The file Z 913, public hearing, zoning map amendment. This has been postponed. It will be rescheduled for, I believe, August the 31st. If Mr. Martin would fill us in, please.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a statement, public hearing that was scheduled for this evening for the rezoning for R4 to C4 for the property and also for variances at the northeast corner of Richmond and Pearl, the applicant's Full Circle Communities. That meeting was rescheduled to August 31st, 7:30 p.m. here in the City Council chambers due to a publication error, so it will not be considered tonight. No motion is required. We just, all the public notification requirements are being completed again, including all notices, the signs, and the newspapers. So I'm just stating that it's rescheduled to August 31st, 7:30 p.m. It'll be a special meeting, and then we can move on to agenda item number 7. Thank you.
That being said, we will move to Z 914, public hearing use variance to allow a two-family dwelling at 3615 West Waukegan Road. Applicants are Kevin and Barbara.
Schechtel.
Help me out on this one.
Schechtel.
810 Old Oak Circle, Algonquin, Illinois, 60102. Requested action, use variance from Article 4, residential districts to allow a two-family dwelling on subject property at 3615 West Waukegan Road, McHenry. We have certification by mail, the receipts for the abutting property owners, as well as publication in the public notice in the newspaper. Okay, so please tell us why you're here very briefly.
Sure. So we
Oh,
purchased,
excuse me, I have to swear you in, please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Very good.
So we purchased a property at 3615 Waukegan about 11 years ago. It was a rental investment property. We've had various tenants throughout the past 11 years. About 2 years ago, we decided we wanted to sell the unit. Recently, well, actually it was January 1, the bottom tenant moved out, and I decided not to refill that tenant in hopes that that would interest the prospective buyer to help expedite the sale of the home. Having done so, we did get a prospective buyer about 2 months ago, and through the course of her applying for a loan, she was informed that the home as it sits now is no longer legal as a two-family home due to the fact that the lower unit had a period of time where it was unoccupied. Therefore, her loan was denied. So I'm requesting a variance to bring this back into code in hopes I can resurrect this prospective buyer back into buying the home, at worst case, having the ability to legally rent it out again, if not.
Okay, very good. Mr. Martin, if you so kind, give us the staff analysis on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant, as stated, he's required to obtain a use variance. The current zoning is RA1, which is attached residential, and attached residential allows 2 dwelling units, but they have to be separated by a common vertical wall. So this is basically a home with 2 units separated by a horizontal wall or a 2-flat. So when there's a unit downstairs and a unit upstairs, and the zoning ordinance also says that if essentially if both units are occupied and it's zoned RA1, it's non-conforming, because that under RA1 you can have a unit on top of a unit. You can have a unit next to a unit separated by a common vertical wall. When the unit was vacated on the bottom, I don't want to get technical, but I don't think it was illegal because they weren't occupying the bottom unit. It was just non-conforming. Now, if 30 days go by and it's vacant, they have to come to compliance, but they still weren't occupying it, but it's still non-conforming. So to make it conforming, to make it legal, one of those, there's 2 ways. One is you can get a variance, in this case it would be a use variance to allow the use as a 2-flat, or you can or apply for a rezoning. And in that case, that would be RM, which is residential, low-density multifamily. So staff had recommended to the applicant to go for the use variance. And the main reason was because this area of town is an older area. Most of the homes have a lot of character and are very unique, mostly built in the 19th century. And if you look at the house, it does not look like, it looks like a single-family house almost. And a lot of these homes around this area have a lot of architectural character. And with the exception of a small area on Maple Court, most of the RA1 zoning in the city was built fairly recently, within the past 20 years. So this is a unique situation. If the other option of rezoning it to RM, that would have other, I would say, ramifications. So that would allow not only a 2-family dwelling, which is what the applicant is requesting, but potentially, you could have, you could have more than potentially 2 units. So a 2-family dwelling is simply 2 dwelling units as defined in the zoning ordinance. So that's why, I recommended that they just get the use variance to allow it to be used as a 2-family dwelling, or 2 dwelling units, one on top of the other, which is permitted in our RM, but if they got the use variance, it would be permitted. So the criteria for use variance are practical difficulties or hardship. The applicant can't realize the reasonable return as it is in its current state. There's unique circumstances involved. It won't alter the local character of the area if they were to get a use variance, and it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. As I stated, the area is unique. It's not going to change the character. In fact, it's almost like what you call a paper amendment. It's nothing that's going to change on the property at all, basically. Maintaining the RA1 zoning and approving the use variance in staff's opinion, allowing the two-family dwelling makes more sense. It allows these buildings that are in the older part of town to remain to be used as such. I don't think it's a bad use at this location. It's close to the downtown. I mean, I don't know if there's any reason why a two-flat use is not a good use. It's the comp plan. It's medium density residential, which is 4 to 9 units per acre, and that is not single family or multifamily, just 4 to 9 units per acre. So staff's recommending approval of the use variance to allow the property at 3615 to allow a two-family dwelling, and staff finds all requirements of 32A of the zoning ordinance have been satisfied.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Martin. Any questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Thacker,
Yes.
I have previously been engaged by Barbara and Kevin, so I would like the record to reflect that I would find myself in conflict voting, so I will be abstaining from the voting, but would answer any questions that might be posed of me.
Okay, thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Commissioner Miller. Yes, sir.
I'm Dave Scott, I live next door to the property. I think I clearly understand.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, David Scott, 3619 Waukegan Road, McHenry, Illinois.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
Yes,
help you
sir.
God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I live next door to the property, and I think I clearly understand this. Sorry for repeating what you said so well. But in
That's
very,
okay.
very simple terms, there's a unit downstairs, and there's a studio apartment upstairs. Cody lives up there now. Heather used to live downstairs. When Heather moved out, they sort of lost their grandfathering in, and they're trying to make it official now to be a variance to allow two-family to go back to having 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Good. I'm good with that. You mentioned an RM. I would totally not be good with that, but the variance they're asking for is fine. Just want to make sure it was real clear on
Thank you.
what it was.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it? I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, sir.
Does the variance transfer with the sale?
Yeah, so then everyone, the commissioner asked if the variance transferred with the sale. It goes with the property. So unless there was a time limitation that it would expire, it would go with the property indefinitely, which, I don't see a reason why there would be a time. I wouldn't recommend a time restriction. I think in its current state, it could be used as a two-flat indefinitely. So yeah, it would go with the property.
And my next question would be, how is it out of compliance?
It's out of compliance right now because one of the 2 units is vacant. So if in the non-conformity provision in the zoning ordinance, if you have a non-conforming use and it is not conforming for a period of 30 consecutive days, you cannot reestablish that non-conformity. So if you were to put somebody back in that unit, essentially you're establishing the non-conformity by having unit over unit.
Structurally or code-wise, it's not out of compliance.
Building, you mean building-wise? Yeah, that I don't know. This is strictly land use and zoning. There was no building inspection done. This is strictly speaking of land use and zoning. but also just to, you could ask the petitioners, they would know better than me. I'm assuming, everything's to water, to electric services, that type of thing, for each unit, one for each unit.
There's 2 electric, 2 gas, 1 water. I pay for the water.
Okay, all right. And there's one entrance to the front, one on the side?
1 in the front and back for the lower unit, 1 in the back for the upper unit.
Okay.
Now, what about any other establishments on Waukegan that would fall under this? They would have to have if they want to sell theirs, they'd have to have, be going through the same process, correct?
Well, we were, it's kind of a tricky situation. So if it's 2 flat like this and they're occupied, and they're occupied, it sells, and they remain occupied, they're non-conforming. It doesn't mean they're illegal, it just means they're non-conforming. Now, if like one gets vacated, technically they should not fill that unit without becoming into compliance. However, we don't have a great mechanism for determining A, when the house sells, B, when a unit may become unoccupied. We don't have a transfer stamp requirement, so there's no great way to determine when one unit in one house may become unoccupied. But there could be I did receive a call within a week of this application from a broker, because there's probably about a block area of these RA1 zonings on Waukegan, and the broker asked, well, what could I market it as? Multifamily, single family, and I said, I just said what they're allowed to do. Under RARM, you can use it as a single family house, that's permitted. Any single family is allowed. You can use under RA, you're allowed to do a unit, but it has to be side by side. Now, to my knowledge, most of these units are not side by side. They're mostly 2 flats. So, there's, unfortunately, I hate to say it, the person was applying for a loan, and they called to make sure the zoning's accurate, and that's how we found out. So sometimes that's what happens, and that's how they, that's also, this is one thing, but we've also talked about, this is a zoning issue, but there are other matters where it could be helpful to know when a unit becomes unoccupied, code enforcement, if we ever implemented a rental inspection program. We don't have a program in place. There's no community in the county that has a transfer stamp or transfer tax thing. So there's no way. I suppose you could come up with one, but
I guess if you take it to the sale of the house, then you transfer it that way, or track it that way.
well, but how do you know when the house sells? You'd have to follow it. The transfer stamp's the best way to do it. That's a tax, and we talked about that, but it's a tax, and right now we're researching, and I know Ross, our community development director, for other reasons, as I said, code enforcement, rental inspections. There's other things that would benefit having notification when a property changes hands, because it's not just to pick on people. It's there's life safety issues. Sometimes when you get in a home and basic things, you can smoke detectors. You it can save lives and stuff like that, so we're not gonna give up on it, but there's no way right now that we have yet.
Okay, I have a question. We give the variance and the unit remains, they sell it, the unit remains unoccupied for, one of the units remains unoccupied for 30 days. The variance takes care of it.
Yeah, the very,
This is
yeah,
done.
right, right.
Okay. That's all I got.
Anything else from the other commissioners?
Nothing my way.
If not, we will look for a motion.
I shall make that.
Oh, wait, we already,
Close the
Sorry.
public comment. We need to close the public comment section.
oh, thanks.
Is there anyone else in the vast audience that would like to comment on this? No? Okay, thank you very much. That we conclude the public input.
Okay. Thank God for Dorothy.
Gosh darn it.
All right, I will resume my motion.
Okay, motion by
I will
Commissioner
make a
Myers.
motion for the approval of the use variance at 3615 Waukegan Road to allow two-family dwelling. Staff finds all requirements in table 32A of the zoning ordinance have been satisfied.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Doherty. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Abstain.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota,
Yes.
Commissioner Thacker,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Good luck on getting your file back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll be in touch, we should be able to get on September 5th meeting. Assuming Dorothy gets the minutes done.
Oh, also good luck at the city council.
Yeah.
They're more interesting than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, that's the word for it.
Mr. Martin, the staff report.
So we're gonna have a special meeting for the Full Circle,
Yeah, you don't have to stay.
Yeah.
project.
Unless you want.
Yeah, unless you want to be entertained. Thank you.
Thanks, have a great evening.
Project at Richmond Road and Pearl. I know some of you attended that meeting. For those of you who didn't, the proposed project right now is 25 dwelling units, 3-story building for people with physical and sensory impairments. I think it's a great project. They're partnering with TLS, Transitional Living, works with veterans also over the rainbow. They're working with PACE as far as maybe putting in a PACE stop, because PACE goes right by there. So that will be August 31st. We called around, and I think most of you will be there, if not all of you. And so that's August 31st, 7:30. The next meeting after that is September 20th. That'll be the next regular scheduled meeting. And then I know, I think Jim and Sean attended that training in Lakemore that I sent out, and I believe they both thought it was, well, Jim, you want to just give what you thought of it since Sean's not here?
Yeah, it was myself, Sean, and a couple other people from other communities or whatever. You know, being a first-time commissioner for myself, it was pretty informative of just a little bit of history of commissioners, and then what the roles are of our fine people. And then also they touched upon about how meetings should be run a little bit, and like best practices and that and stuff. So I know Sean took a lot of notes because I made him take a lot of notes. And I think he was going to present that to you.
We sent it out to everybody.
Oh, we all got the packet and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
Butch said he couldn't read his writing, but.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if
next time have
it,
a print.
yeah, he was nervous. So I think the next time it comes around, if we can, I think we're all going to attend it.
Yeah.
If possible?
I emailed the guy and asked if he could do one here.
Yeah.
There was a funding issue, but I'm sure we can get something like that done. It's a because Kelly's not here, a non-attorney training.
Right.
So, not that attorneys are bad, but I think that it gives a different perspective. The people who did, I wasn't there, but I know who they are. They're people who used to be like planning directors, so it just provides a different perspective. And so, I've talked to Sean since then, and one of the things that Sean and I are working on is, kind of addressing, our comprehensive plan was updated, the text in 2008. The future land use map was updated 2005. And so what we had talked about was putting kind of just a short outline together that I would work with the mayor on, and then he would work with the council as far as procedures, so we could get the go-ahead to work on. I think the first thing we need to do is look at our zoning map and look at our comp plan and make sure they match. Because there's a lot of areas where the land uses don't match the zoning, and I think we need to correct that. And then after that, I think we need to look at the future land use map, but break it up into quadrants and look at each quadrant. And we do this over time, separately, and look at all different planning factors for that area, transportation, environment, and say, do we want all residential here? Do we want higher density? I mean, a lot has changed. There's a lot of residential on our plan. The census is coming. There's a lot of different things that have happened. And then after that is done, I think we need to look at the text of the plan, and there's a lot of things in the plan that probably should be, that are not in the plan that probably should be. Health-related things, sustainability, energy-related things. So we want to try to tackle those on maybe tonight, where we have a light agenda. This is something that's going to take some time. But I think if we do it and we have an outline and we're not too aggressive, we can get it done. I mean, I don't think we need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a consultant. We could get a consultant to help, but I don't think it's necessarily to spend a ton of money. It's just going to take longer. So if we do it manageably, so that's what we talked about. And so when we come up with something, we'll bring it, like I said, after we run it through with the mayor and the council, and if you guys all agree, then we'll kind of pursue that.
I have a question relating to the 31st meeting.
Yes.
They've got a unit up in Richmond, right?
Yes.
Because they had an open house at that thing. I wasn't able to attend. I'm going to take a ride up there at some point and just look through it.
If you want, I know that they could probably arrange for you to go in it, if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, I don't need to.
Do you know where it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got an address.
Did anybody go to that?
No, I was working.
I saw it once before. You just take a left at the church up there.
Yeah.
Right by the McDonald's.
Yeah.
I went to the initial groundbreaking. I didn't go to the, but yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's basically pretty much the same building, because they had to scale the number of units down from what they originally proposed.
So the one in Richmond's going to be similar to what?
Pretty much, it's
Yeah.
25 units.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, but we've worked with them extensively on this property in terms of how to address concerns that we've heard from past projects. So, the design is similar and all that, but they have things on, they got grants they want to do permeable pavers, they want to do, a lot of the buildings energy efficient. So, there's a lot of, other than the population it serves, there's a lot of great things about it. So, they're serving a population that needs it, that's in great demand, but there's also a lot of other things associated with it. they may come back and try to do another building in the future, and they'll show that, but the specifics are not going to be there at this point, because it's all contingent upon getting funding, but they'll talk about it very conceptually.
Okay.
They had an open house at St. Mary's.
At St. Mary's.
Yeah, and Jim and myself, Joe, and Sean as well were there, and the young ladies and the gentleman did I thought it was nice, you know, everything they had laid out, and then it kind of turned into a P&Z meeting, thanks to Pat Wirtz, but it was, they had a lot of nice information there. Yeah, it was worth seeing, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with Doug, and it's a population that needs more help.
Oh, yeah, that's.
But you always get that NIMBY.
Well, unfortunately, these types of projects, you know, you often can't do them unless you get funding, especially where we are. And that's why what makes it even better is that, because, I mean, typically, you couldn't build this type of project without assistance.
No.
Okay.
Okay, if there isn't anything else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Sabota. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Thacker,
Yes.
Commissioner Walsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Sabota.
No, I want to stay.
Feel free to do so.
Marcus.
Bouncing
off the walls.
My daughter.
By the way, the minutes are done.
Joke, Dorothy.
They're done.
So she came, and she's listening to all that, and then she goes, hey, I'm here to speak for the veterans.
Yeah.
We're having this expo at the high school,
Right.
manufacturing expo.